नहीं नहीं अभी नहीं वेट. We are live.
Okay. Start.
Knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied, and today we multiply possibilities. A very good afternoon to one and all present over here. I welcome you all to another insightful session of Corporate Gupshup, episode 14. I am Ramesh Yadav, your host for today's session, and I am joined by my co-host Kushi Chaturvedi. This session is proudly brought to you by Corporate Club, powered by Training and Placement Department, LNCT.
Today, we are truly honored to welcome our special chief guest and our proud alumni, Mr. Atharva Saxena, from 2025 batch, currently working as a junior software engineer at EPAM Systems. Sir, we are delighted to have you on board with us. Kindly turn on your camera and provide a brief introduction about yourself.
So likewise, Kushi and Ramansh, it's a pleasure to meet you both. And again, hello everyone. My name is Atharva Saxena, and as Kushi told you, I'm currently interning at EPAM Systems, and it's been a beautiful journey. And getting a chance to sit in EPAM interview, and then finally getting selected, and coming here to Hyderabad, and joining office, and meeting the amazing people. That working on something bigger. It's really something. And that's about me. I think that's about it from my side. And again, before we start, first of all, let's thank God for the beautiful opportunities we got today, and for everything He gave us.
Thank you so much, sir, for introducing yourself. Now, our host will continue with the session.
Absolutely.
So, before we proceed with the questions, I would like to congratulate Athav sir for being selected at EPAM, a reputed global tech firm. Sir, as the most asked question, we would love to hear your experience of EPAM selection process. So, please do tell us about the rounds and procedures which are involved.
All right. So again, a long series of interviews. So let's talk about the EPAM interview experience. So first of all, okay, so when the link came to the WhatsApp group, the DNP group, where you get the chances of appearing in all the beautiful placement and companies which our TMP department provides us with. Clicked on the link. I never heard of EPAM before, so but again I filled it because the package it was good. So I filled the link, and I was not sure what to expect. But the first round was an OA round, right? Online assessment. So it comprised of some technical MCQs and two coding questions, right? DSA, I hope you must be aware, right? So those coding questions, um, they were, one was easy and one was on the lower bound of medium difficulty, and it took me 6 minutes to solve one, and 25 minutes to solve another one. So yeah, that was something. And then again, I was pretty hopeful because it went pretty good on my end. Then came the second round. The second round, we were called in campus for that, the college, right? So I went to the college, and the second round was G group discussion, GD, right? So GD round, and it was taken by the people from EPAM, right? And company, and we were one of the few who had a GD taken by the lead solution architect there, Venu sir. That man, what a commendable man he is. So the GT, the topic was given to us, and 10 of us sat in that classroom with, I don't know what to expect there. Topics are so random. So a random topic was given to us. I still remember what it was. It was about suppose you're an humanitarian aid, and you are in a war front, and you have to provide the aid to the people right there, right? And unfortunately, you just got struck by another artillery. Again, you see, you look around, it's all destroyed, people get hurt everywhere. So what's your next step? Discuss something about that. So 10 of us sat there, we discussed, and by God's grace I cleared that as well. And the next round was a technical round. So again, we were called the next day. We went to the college, and we had one-on-one technical interviews with amazing, very knowledgeable, um, panel from EPAM systems, and one of them was a foreigner as well. So I had a chance to showcase my learnings. It was a total 45 or 50-minute rounds. It was quite large, and it was really I was scared, I was very nervous and exhausted, because you have to recite everything you put on your resume, like from A to Z. You tell which languages are you working on, what stack do you work with, and like what's your project, and like your core subjects and everything. They inquired everything. They gave me a pen paper as well. If they had some random, okay, like why not just in constant space solve this question, and why not they just optimize this? Like suppose the constants are even tighter, how would you solve it? So like that went on for a while, and then was the HR round. It was the final round, and again I was not sure like what to expect in the HR round. Like those are pretty uh, it reflects your all round development, how you were raised, and what did you mastered in your your personality wise. So I was not very sure like what to say there. But again, like the interviewer was such a calm and chill, and he asked me questions, and like he wanted natural responses. He was like, just calm down and think about this. How would you like naturally, if someone like just asked you out of blue, how would you respond to it? So yeah, HR round, like they inquired about everything, my upbringing, my background, and my extracurricular activities, and see, this is very essential. They told me they asked in technical round, they asked me like what my projects were, what stack did I used, and like how I made them. But in HR round, they asked me what was the incentive behind it, like why these projects, why did you make them, right? What was your motive behind it? Like you want to make some money out of it, or like was it because you feel like doing some, I don't know, so you want to bring some revolution or something like that. So it was pretty um, retrospective, and I got to it was the first time I also thought in that direction, right? Some I get the prudential reasons, but like what are the moral reasons behind my learnings and all. So like yeah, it was something. These four rounds, yeah,
Thank you.
for the exam.
Thank you, sir. So, talking about these four rounds, what were the strategies and resources you utilized?
Strategies and resources. Okay. So, okay, this is on my end. I did not prepared very well for the interview. I mean, I prepared for the interview, but like not for the all rounds in this chronology. I wasn't sure, how they conducted their interviews, because this is the first time I was EPAM came to a college, and I tried to stroll through some resources online, and how usually in EPAM takes interviews. So I didn't found much there. So I just planned very basic strategies. Okay, of course, the first thing they're gonna ask in my interview is my introduction. So I worked on that, and then I just revised all the okay, so you must have been following the lead code 150. Most of you, everyone follows those 150 questions for the interviews, and it's a good strategy. It works pretty well every time. So I looked at those questions, and luckily one of them struck in my interview, and it helped me. I already had the solution to that question, and I had experience with that question. And what else for my strategies and resources? Okay, so our resource I mentioned lead code, and for more I would say um okay, so for aptitude round, right, EPAM didn't have an aptitude, but in interview they asked me it was some permutation combination question. So you should know aptitude absolutely. I sat in more companies, right? So I've sat in Accenture, Capgemini, and everywhere. Aptitude is asked everywhere. So make sure your aptitude is through. And for that, I used Campus Monk. Campus Monk on YouTube is really good for your aptitude. Then for next is your technical, your core subjects, right? So the best resource for your technical and core subjects is your college. All the subjects they mention, operating systems, DBMS, computer networks, and every subject, system design, software engineering, they are very essential. These core questions come from that only, right? So college is good for that. And secondly, Geeks for Geeks. You can and also one of the best resources for just your technical questions is TUF. You must have Take You Forward by what's his name? No way, I forgot his name. So anyways, Take You Forward. You can search SD sheet questions, and it will give you the very commonly asked questions. From operating system, you have SJF, FCFS, and caching, deadlock, and such common topics. You have them answered there in depth. You can check that out. And third is Chat GPT. Chat GPT actually I just put there, can you answer this exam in 5 minutes? I'm a fresher sitting on interviews. Like, what kind of questions would you ask from dash field? Like, any fields. Like, suppose, maybe computer networks. What kind of questions would I get from computer networks? And maybe what kind of questions do I get from operating systems? So, ChatGPT was like one of the most helpful. And for DSA, it's a very vast field. But again, to maybe compress and like put here, I would say, there are plenty again, like whatever suits you. But like to me, Anuj Bhaiya on DSA, you must have seen him on YouTube. He helped a lot. And Abdul Bari for algorithms. And if you don't have a problem with the language, you don't have this language barrier, and really comfortable with English, you should always resort to Abdul Bari. What a man he is. And he covers pretty much every algorithm that's used in DSA. And for coding questions, I would say, you can follow Apna College, Shraddha Kapra. She's a really good course. She taught all these essential, coding questions, and she manually codes them in front of you. She'll show you, line by line, why did you wrote this line now by using this syntax, or and make sure you do collections before you, you should know your tools before you perform any task, right? You're fixing a car, mechanic, suppose. So you need to have, an understanding of your tools, like how does this screwdriver works, or maybe how does this, um how does this pliers work. So make sure you understand all the, suppose you're doing Java, you should know collections first of all, strings, arrays, your primitive, non-primitive structures. You should know everything about it, then you should jump to questions. So before, I said Abdul Bari algorithms, and Shraddha Kapra whole DSA course, 150 questions. Before that, make sure you do this, the collections and data structures and all. In C++, I think you have STL, so make sure to do that first.
Okay, sir. Coming to your projects, what kind of questions were asked from it, and what are the technologies and tools you used in that project?
Okay, so bear with my tragic story. It's a little bit sob story from my perspective, it is at least. So in college, I was an Android developer. I used Kotlin, then Kotlin, Groovy, Android Studios. I stuck to the very fresh stack in the market for Android development. I stuck to Jetpack Compose, composables, right? And this stack was new, and even Android Studios has been around for quite a while now. It's been there for forever, using Android applications. But this Jetpack composables, it's a new library from JetBrains, and it's a new stack in overall, right? I worked with Firebase for database and all. So I kind of wanted to become an Android developer first, so I was primarily focused in this. But and my projects are also in Android development. I make two applications, two projects, and you can find them on my GitHub as well. And but right now I'm a full stack web developer, and I'm working with Munstack and AWS and Kubernetes. But earlier I was an Android developer, and for my projects, I'm sorry, your question was, how was
Uh,
the questions on project, right?
yes, sir.
And what stack I use, I remember now, right? So my stack was this Android development, Kotlin. And earlier I used to use XML for front end, and for back end it was Kotlin. But after Jetpack Compose and Composables, I was working with just Kotlin for everything, for all the dependencies, for all the code, front end, back end, everything. Kotlin worked pretty well. And in the interview, they asked me, okay, what was the architecture of my code, and how are the components interacting with each other, am I navigating between pages. So you must have done some web development, so you understand how it works in routes and all work in
Yes.
HTML, JavaScript, right? But in Kotlin it's a little bit different. So we use navigation graph, and it's a little bit different there, navigation routes and all. So I told them in depth about that. And I told them how, what was my motive behind, what how it made, what are the current competitors. They'll always ask you this, how is your app different from what already is there in the market, right? So you'd and word of advice, never ever resort to making just blind copies or replicas of already existing applications in the market. Don't make a Spotify from the scratch without putting some tweaks in it. Make it different. It should reflect what creative solution or what creativity you put into it, because obviously you're pretty fresh developer, so they don't expect a full stack project from you, with entire database appended to it, all the APIs running, and you can all the pipelines implemented and everything. No, they just want to see you are really problem solving, you're creative, and you understand your stack. Not very proficient, but you understand your stack, what are the limitations and what's the scope of your stack, right? So make sure you make a project, you put something different in it. So I told them how my project stood out, and what uh, problems statements am I working on, and um, so suppose my project, in opinion, it was an food ordering app, right? So how is it different from Swiggy or Zomato, right? It's pretty much all these apps do this, right? But I had I told them I had two different filters in it. They were draggable filters, and these filters are you can set your budget. Like suppose you're a college student, and you have multiple bottlenecks when you're trying to store your food. Suppose that when you're at your home, you order a pastry or ice cream, you can put it in the fridge, you can dump it in the freezer, right? It's fine. But if you're a student, so what's the point of me showing you the food which you cannot store for longer periods, right? So I'm gonna put a filter up there. So you can mention what's the duration, like how long can you store your food. So suppose you're a student, and you don't have a freezer, so suppose you only have 3 days at max, so you can put food which is gonna have a shelf life of 3 days. So I'm gonna show you only that food, right? And also like your budget. Suppose you not do complete your proteins, your carbs, right? So depending on your budget, the app is gonna suggest you different food items. The data was static, again, I was pretty new to this stacks, so I wasn't exactly fetching it from API or some artificial intelligence or some advanced filters. But again, they understood in what direction I was going, and I had to create a solution. So yeah, they were pretty happy with that.
Thank you, sir. Also, sir, talking about EPAM. So, what kind
Right.
of project one student should focus on? What are the type of projects usually they consider in their interview process?
Okay, so when EPAM came for our batch, they were primarily looking for something around Java. Again, this happens when a company gives you a good package, they have their own their own terms and conditions. So they were looking for something around Java. So the DSA questions, everything was in Java, and the project they were looking for okay, so first barrier was Java. Second was they were looking for if you are good with the DSA, then they would assign you to .NET or something, or if you're good if you're a good web developer, you understand how the MERN stack or mean stack works. So they would assign you to JavaScript projects, full maybe a website, at least the front end part you should be thorough with it. So EPAM expects this much, you can at least write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code. You can put up a uh, a raw front end. You can host it on your system. They're not exactly they would ask you to have Express.js or React code in a code, but it's good. It's a plus point if you know it. So they expect this much, that you can at least write a front end for your project. And if not, not very good at your project, they're gonna they're gonna drill into DSA, of course, then. And if neither, then you should have good understandings of at least machine learning, AI. They were pretty since it's all-time high demand of AI. So if you have something, uh, you know you can leverage, you have more than others. You have good knowledge of AI. You can just not just putting prompts and making projects from AI, something more than that. If you have worked around with machine learning, then they might also consider that. But I would say at least putting up a front end of any project you make, Android, web. So that would be that's sufficient, I believe.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like my co-host to carry out with the proceedings.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ramansh. So, sir, as we all know that you were the first president of Corporate Club. So, how does being a part of Corporate Club help you in your journey?
Okay. Corporate club, my beloved. the first president I was of this amazing club. And so
Yes.
yeah, um, they asked me in HR round, like, so I put this on my resume, like, you are much more than just a coder, right? In your 4 years of journey in your college, they expect something more, some sort of like, some extracurricular. You're not just like, a machine who only writes codes and solves problem. You're a little more than that, right? God made us all unique, and like, we are destined to just more than just like our jobs, right? So companies also expect this, like, you should know something more than just your code, and like, more than your, you must have some personality, right? So corporate club helped me plenty with that. And like, in HR round, I told them like, it was a student welfare club, and like, um, we try to help, we try to answer all the questions, all the queries which are not answered earlier, something from the students, like something for the students from the seniors who are placed, seniors who cleared the like, who walked the path which we juniors are going to walk, right? So the club also, like, it helped me improve my communication skills again, like, um, corporate club plus one more club, like, I was also leading go global clubs, so I had chance to, like, meet seniors from abroad as well, and like, um, coming to a platform, and I respect you both, like, Ramansh and Khushi, like, coming to a platform and saying something in front of, like, so many people watching, like, it means something, right? And it adds to your personality. It shows, like, okay, how uh, you stepped out of your comfort zone, like, so I would say corporate club helped me with that, like, if any other juniors are watching this, like, second year, first year, I would also, like, encourage you to be a part of this club. And like, I had so many questions, and like, I had a chance to network with all the seniors, like, amazing seniors placed at such amazing companies. Hitesh Bhaiya from Amazon, Madhur Bhaiya, Dutch Bank, and like, they helped me a lot. They like showed me my ground reality where I was standing, and what like places I should work on. So like, yeah, corporate look gave plenty opportunities on, like, such a good network, and a personality development. Like, it also gave me a lot of attendance. So that's also like something helped me, right?
Thank you, sir. So, how should pre-final year students or third year students who are
Right.
soon going to appear for placements prepare themselves for the HR round?
HR round. Okay, so your technical rounds are pretty much like, how you did that, and your HR rounds are why, right? So what was the incentive behind this? Now you made a project, okay, so don't, that's how I would say again, like, don't make replicas and like uh, copies of, like, already made projects, like, I made the Spotify replica, so like they're gonna ask you, like, so why did you, like, what encouraged you to make a replica of Spotify, right? It makes no sense, and no follow-up questions, right? It ends your interview there. So make sure, like, make something unique. So like, HR would like be, it should intrigue them, right? So like, what was your incentive? Why did you make this application? So I told them, like, for my application, like, I told them, like, okay, I'm a day scholar, but a lot of my friends, they are like, they hail from different parts of India. So like, they're living here as hostlers. So I understand they're like, they are facing some issues, some challenges when they're like, managing their food and all, right? So that was my incentive behind it, and like, he was quite impressed, like, yeah, that makes sense. And for HR round also, like, make sure you also, like, always have follow-up questions, and always, like, engage with them. Like, don't be like, you're so logged in, like, interview starts, and like an interview asks you, like, so how are you, how's the weather, and you can just don't give yes or no answer. Yes, no, yes sir, very good, no, well. And like, you're so logged in for like a technical interview that you don't do the basic courtesy, like, you forget your manners. That's not good. So make sure, like, that you prepare for HR interviews. Like, this sounds like weird, like, why should I prepare for an HR? Once I clear technical, I'm pretty sure I won't get rejected in HR. That's not true. You might get rejected in HR, and that's gonna hurt you really, really bad. Because think about it, you cleared all the technical stuff, and then you get rejected in HR round. So that's gonna hurt you. That's why I'm saying, like, have personality. You are more than just a a machine. You're not like writing codes and that's about it. You call it a day. You're more than that. Show your personality. Have some hobbies. Like uh, be extravaganza. Like show you have interest in music and like you have your interests. Say that you're not some like some uh, machine who's gonna like just for in exchange of good package, good money, you're gonna write code and call it a day. You're more than that. Show them HR like looks like how your values are. Make sure like okay, you are kind and they're gonna give you a sheet. Like this is what happened in two HR rounds which I sat in. So in both of them, like they give you a sheet to fill. Like they're like very your behavior. How would you respond to like situations? So in that, I would say your be a good person. Like it reflects your upbringing and like make sure like when you're sitting in HR, you're like nice to the HR and like you're open. You understand like how world works. You have empathy towards everyone and like you're just you follow justice. So like make sure like in HR you you have your answers ethically correct and morally too.
Yes. So, what are the key features or elements to recruiters and hiring managers typically
Right.
look for in students' resume? I mean, how should students actually make their resume?
Resume. Okay. So so you understand like first impressions last. They do.
Yes.
And it's something you cannot change. So resume, like before you even sit in front of the interviewer, it's your resume. Your resume sits there first. So first thing first, a very solid advice, and I cannot like emphasize enough on this. Do not lie in your resume. Like always put what you know, what you can justify, what you can defend with your whole heart. Like uh, you are able to like now I can system.out.println hello world, so I'm proficient in Java. No, you're not. So like don't put Java in a resume yet. Make sure like you can solve a few questions. You can like you are thorough with like some more syntax. You understand how it works, like JVC, JVM, like what are they? What is JDK? You should understand like the core of the language. Then you can put Java, right? Second is like put in DSA. Like I have seen this common trend, like putting in DSA in your resume. So it's obvious you're giving a green check to your interviewer. Like you can ask me anything from DSA if you put DSA in your like resume. So rule number one, put only what you can justify in your resume. Secondly, like you should follow a good template. I mean, this sounds like superficial. Like why does it matter? Like a resume should only have my information. Like doesn't I should decorate it? Maybe I should put colors in it. No, follow a very generic, a very basic resume pattern. Like maybe I'll share it after this call. I can share to my juniors. Follow this very basic template and make sure like it's organized. It has your uh, personal details like your name and like essentials like your GitHub repo. Maybe you can showcase your projects there. Maybe your like your LinkedIn profile. Put your contact information. Put your correct email, a professional email there, right? Put your education. Put your like start with education. Don't put a professional summary yet because it's a resume, not a CV, right? You are still pretty fresh, right? So you don't have any experience yet. So make sure you put your like education. Then you put your skills, what you have learned, and like what stack are you familiar with. Then you should put your projects, and then if you have done some internship certifications, put that. Like don't put like hobbies. I would say in your resume. That's I mean, some people say it's a good practice, but I don't believe that it's a good practice to put your hobbies in a resume. That's for like HR rounds. Like, wait till you get there and keep it concise. Try not to use like personal pronouns. Ke, I have been a part of this. I have been doing this. Just put like ke, been a part of this team for this challenge. Put your hackathons experience in that as well if you have any, and any internship, and also put valid internships. Like don't put like those virtual internships. Like there's a like, plenty of internships out there, um, which are just for the namesake, right? They're not real internships. Put something like which you have certificate for, and also all these paid internships, like where you are paying the person who employs you. That's also not a valid internship. So like put real stuff there. That's all I got to say.
So, for the viewers to summarize, I'll say do not lie in your
Hmm.
resume, follow the good
Absolutely.
template. Projects you should include, not the
Absolutely.
hobbies. Hackathon
Absolutely.
should also be included, and valid internship, not the paid internship which we pay.
Absolutely.
So, are there any common mistakes that can significantly impact a student's chance of getting shortlisted?
Having a low CGPA, I would say, I'm not trying to scare anyone, but try at least bare minimum, try to have a 7 or 7.5 CGPA, because I know a lot of students are very very capable, they're they're better than me at coding and everything, but their CGPA is they're not focusing in college, so it's 6.7, 6.5. I understand you have put a good effort and and everything into your development, but make sure you have a good CGPA as well, because it's a testament of the fact that you're part of a organization, your college, right? An institution, right? And you were dedicated, you came to college, you gave examination, you studied for the examination, so it's a testament you were dedicated to an organization for 4 years. So having a bad CGPA, you got again, we have a vast population, such so much competition, so there gonna be some criteria, right? You understand that much. So make sure you have a good CGPA, and development is essential, but along with you should be parallelly doing this. And again, see, after CGPA, I would say something which can compromise your chances of um, placement is attendance also, I would say. Attendance also impacts your CGPA. So again, we're back to CGPA, but have a good image in front of department. Don't um, do unethical or bad stuff in college. Don't be a part of hooliganism. I've seen a lot of students are engaging in activities. I understand you got the exposure for the first time. You came um, from a pretty restricted environment, and now you're pretty open, so you are doing all this you're into partying, I mean partying and all is fine, but not substance abuse, especially a lot of students are getting into drinking and all, and getting in trouble. So having a bad record, even a lot of companies do this, they would do a background check, and if you have a felony or some sort of criminal charges, they're going to reject you. And why would a college try to get a felon inside a company? It's gonna affect the reputation of college, and companies won't accept it either ways. So make sure you have a clean record, and try not to have any active backlog. I this is a very common hearing I hear in engineering. The Bollywood portrays this, and a lot of seniors would also say this. So I would quote this in Hindi कि अगर बीटेक में एक भी बैक नहीं आई तो भाई तुमने क्या बीटेक करी, क्या इंजीनियरिंग करी? So that's not true. Try to have a clean record, and don't rely on shortcuts. I don't know if you still have it or not, but Shivani पढ़ ले भाई, just read Shivani before the exam day and you'll be fine. And BTech exams only take 1 day preparation, just a night before, and that's all you got to do. Don't do that. Try to have a good CGPA, try to have a good reputation, have your record clean, have no active backlog, and also uh, try to understand the faculties. They're also they're working a lot to help you, and so don't be respectful. These are your teachers, these are people who are going to get you an opportunity, right? So sometimes you might get into heated situations, you understand you might not be wrong here, but again you're one of 1,000 students who are going to sit for a company. So don't lash out, or don't do anything impromptu, just in the heat of the moment you yelled at a faculties or something. Don't do that. We understand you might not be wrong here, but think for the long term. Think twice before you do anything. This is official stuff, right? So keep all this in your mind and you'll be fine.
Yeah, so according to sir, you guys should have a good CGPA, attendance should be good, should not have bad record, and be respectful with everyone.
Right.
Over to my host Ramansh. He will continue with the session.
Thanks, Kushi. Now, as you have mentioned, sir, we are not just a machine; we are an
Hmm.
individual. So,
You
what
are
are the major soft skills one must focus during the interview process? Like,
soft
which are the core
skills.
skills? Yeah.
Right, right. So soft skills. Hmm. The first things first, communication, right? And fluency in English. Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm correct here, but like it's a little unsolicited advice, and like just all I gotta say is like you don't have to be grammatically correct, and like syntactically, semantically, all the sentences should make sense. No one's gonna like no one's gonna be a grammar Nazi and gonna like check each sentence you say and like it should be framed properly in the right order. Fluency doesn't mean this. Fluency means like you should be confident when you say something, when you form a sentence. You don't do like don't get stuck. It shows like you're prepared. You have put efforts, and it's not something you're just suddenly put on pedestal. Like say something. Not that. You came to interview. You are sitting in an like in front of a reputed panel, and like you have to represent what you have prepared. Represent yourself. You speak for yourself, right? So uh, have fluency, I would say. Like of course you might get stuck, like that's how because English is not a native language, right? So that's given. But again, try to be like don't focus too much on grammar, but like convey. At least you should be able to convey what you're thinking. Do justice to your own thoughts, to your own preparation, do justice to yourself, right? So you should be able to represent yourself. You should be open. Another soft skill is like making small conversation. That's very essential. And like because this happens, so an interview starts, and like the interview just came in, and like first thing first, what would you do when you meet a stranger? You don't just start with like, okay, so what is JavaScript, what are closures, what is prototypal inheritance? So like you'll start with something, uh, hi, how has your day been so far? And like you should be able to respond and match their energy. You make sure like you should he should be felt like you should have some connection. You should be able to resonate. Like you can talk to someone, like they should also feel like, okay, so the person is reciprocating my energy. They are feeling likewise when I say like I'm having a good day, how about you? So these are essential soft skills. Number one, fluency. Number two, making a small conversation. And number three is, I would say, um good manners and behavior again. Body language too. So like I'm not sure if body language is a part of soft skill, but like have a good body language. Be punctual. Like arrive on time. Like that's given. I should not be even saying this. Arrive before the interviewer, and like make sure you've taken bath. Like you're well groomed. Trim your beard. Like be have a proper haircut. Like this sounds very superficial, but it's a must. It shows a dedication, right? You are dedicated to something bigger. Make some changes, and you're a fresher, like so I would say like take care of all this stuff. And again, so soft skills, I would say fluency and small talks and good mannerism.
Thank you, sir. So, for the audience, one of the most foremost skill you must focus is communication, which should include clarity and fluency, along with basic manners and basic etiquettes that you should go with that. Okay, sir. Coming to the next question, as you know, LinkedIn is an integral part of professional setup. So,
Hmm.
how crucial is strong LinkedIn presence for students and recent graduates?
LinkedIn. So even if you don't post there anything, like just make sure you have an account, LinkedIn account, because in professional environment you don't ask for their Snapchats, Instagram, or like personal contacts. Okay, so emails used to work back in the day, but now like if you want to connect to someone, like suppose you found like found a good person like who holds a reputable position in a big firm, and like you impressed him, like you told you gave him something nice, you told something, you said something clever, and now he wants to connect with you. The first things he's gonna ask you is maybe your LinkedIn. And like if you don't have that, like you're gonna stand there clueless. So make sure you make a LinkedIn first. Secondly, like it's not Instagram, don't put like mirror selfies there. And am I Okay, so maybe I'm a little off track. Your question was the what are the
Like the strategies, like how one should post, what are the major keys areas where they should
hmm.
focus on LinkedIn, and how can they increase their connectivity?
Okay, right. So on the right track. Again, don't put mirror selfies. Don't put like with sunglasses, with shabby hair, and I have shabby hair as of now, but like no, not in my LinkedIn profile. So appear neat, have a good the banner thing above your profile picture. Make sure put a good which says something about you, maybe your contact information, and and if possible, post your projects. I understand you have put this on GitHub, but like LinkedIn, utilize that. LinkedIn has such a big reach, and everyone posts there. All these. Okay, you might think why is Jensen Huang posting there? He's the CEO of Nvidia, but he still posts there, right? All the big people are there, so you never know who might who you might stumble across, and who stumbles across your profile. So put something catchy, put a good summary of what you have done, and put you can put your certifications there. You can put not as a post, there's a separate segment given to put your certificates. Put it there. Don't make a post out of every new certificate. And especially the very beginner certificates, I have seen this. That's pretty common. I have just hello connections, I just got this connection certificate in uh, basics of something XYZ. So don't put that there. I'm not downgrading your efforts to any course or something, but put them. There's a specific segment to put your certifications, right? So put it there, utilize that. And also make sure you add all your skills, and and where did you practice that skill. There's again a segment given for that. Use that. I practiced these skills in my college, maybe during your internship, maybe during your in your school days or something. Put that there. And make sure you follow a proper chronology when you're putting your education. Yeah, I did my schooling from here, and these are my achievements there. Put a grade there, like what was the grade in your school. LinkedIn is you're an interactive resume, so make sure you follow this principle. Don't put personal pronouns I am this that, and put a good summary over there. And in your tag, put your current portfolio, okay, maybe if you're a student at this college, that college. If you got an intern, so put suppose an intern at XYZ. And put your achievements, don't be shy. I've seen this, people. So suppose you're looking for technical jobs, so I've seen people only put technical stuff. And suppose they won a coding contest, or maybe a hackathon, so they only put that on there only. You're more than that. Again, LinkedIn is for your all across achievements. So put suppose you had a chance to anchor something big. Maybe you went to G20 summit, suppose, which happened in Bhopal recently. So you had a chance to speak there. Maybe you had a chance to assist a big delegate. Maybe you had a chance to uh, suppose you won a contest, and maybe you wrote something good. You wrote an article, it got selected or something. So put all the achievements you put there, just put it there, out there for the world to see it, right? And again, you should be wary of the SEO, search engine optimization. So put good tags and everything. It you never know who it might reach. I've seen okay, people they used to put their projects, and they got hired just because their project happened to be on the what do you call that, the feed of some big person. And they send them okay, I'm really intrigued by your projects, you might want to work for this firm. So this happens. So make sure you put your be active there, but don't be overactive. That's an again an open advice to all. Don't be posting anything there, okay, dear connections, today I saw a flock of birds, and one bird fell down, and then it showed resiliency, and it got up and it flew back in the skies, and what I learned from that. That's not going to help you. So put something meaningful. This is okay, this is very contradictory, and it sound weird. Okay, that's helpful, but again, put something which is going to help you in your professional career. It's not your Facebook. Don't put memes there. Don't put unprofessional stuff. Put something relevant to your stack, relevant to your personality, which is also be a which will be an asset to your hiring process or something like that, right? So be professional there.
Thank you, sir. Uh, Kushi, please take it.
Right.
Thank you, Ramansh. So, sir, my next question is, many second year students often feel like they're falling behind in developing strong technical skills, especially when they're comparing themselves to the other person. From
Right.
your experience, what roadmap and a piece of advice would you like to give to such type of students?
Okay, so second year students, fourth semester, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I was one of those students who fell behind because, I was simultaneously changing my stacks, doing different languages. I started with C and then skip C. I should do C++. Then I was told I should do Java. So constant switching and all. So, and my friends were like, my colleagues and all, like they were doing so well in DSS because they were like doing it since their school days. I took physical education in school days. I don't know why, but like they were doing it from such a long period. So like I felt that, and I felt like I was falling behind. So it's like just like normal how like everyday activities have or like pleasures have like peer pressure. So suppose like all your friends are like doing some bad habits, so you have peer pressure, like they would pressurize you to do that as well. And even if they don't, like you feel like doing it, right? So similarly, use it as a motivation. Like friends are getting ahead of you, they're putting in efforts, so they will bear fruit. Like don't try to be the victim here, like feel bad like for yourself. Make sure you get on the path, like compete with them, feel the pressure, right? Yeah, peer pressure, right? So do that whatever they're doing, and like don't follow them blindly, but like take some uh, advice for them from them, and like कि यार भाई तूने कैसे start किया, like where did you start this from, and like what channels, and like how do I, like how do I pique my interest in this like field. So look into it. I did not have a technical background, or anyone from my family has ever done, like been a part of computer engineer or even an engineer, so I was fresh. But again, like I inquired, do your research, like that's very essential. Do your research, make your own roadmap. Don't like blindly follow everyone, not even me or like anyone. Like uh, do your own research. Like you want to be, suppose from like I got into Android development because like I used Android apps, right, every day. All of us use Android apps every day. So it just got me curious, like how does this component work? How does this send a request to somewhere, and like how does this navigation work? How do I press this middle button and I go to home page, and when I press the recent button I get back on this page? So that's why I did some research, and you can find so many roadmaps, like utilize AI where you can for a good like good cause. So make sure you make your own roadmap. And if you're feeling like like it's too late for you, I should quit, don't do that. That's the first thing, like now I'm too late, now I should quit. So like for your information, I started my like DSA journey pretty late, so I was already in third year. And when I faced this setback, like the first company I sat in, I was not able to solve the DSA questions. So I felt like okay, like I should start working more. So don't wait for a setback. Like not all of us have this like luxury of taking too many rejections from a lot of companies. You never know, the market may be like market may be good today, and it might be like not very forgiving the next day. So work on yourself. Like I'm not putting up an urgency, you're in second year, you're too late, like it's over. Like I want to do some government jobs or something. So like be decisive and have some backups. So like hold your niche and like work on it. Don't be like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Make sure you get onto something and put your heart and soul into it.
Thank you, sir. So, for our viewers, sir suggested that take that peer pressure as motivation so that you could do better.
Right.
Discuss it with the friends who are doing better. Make your own roadmap. Don't depend on someone else. And it's never too late.
Right.
Thank you, sir, for this answer. Another question is, as we know, hackathons are a great way to learn and grow. So,
Indeed.
have you ever explored one? If yes, we would love to hear about your experience.
Sure. So again, as I told you, like I was pretty late, and I was a late bloomer, so I wasn't a very good coder. But again, by the by second year, I was able to be a part of a hackathon with my seniors. So one of the seniors are like, they are all in good companies, and like, one of the seniors is in Carvale, and they're all doing good. So you're a part of this team, and we were not able to even qualify the first round. So it sounds weird, right? Because they were all doing so well, and like sometimes it's just a situation, right? I was able to solve the problem statement. I had a solution. I made a, like, entire, like, I planned out how entire navigation of this application would work. How would we implement this? Where would we, like, I was not good at coding, but I was again good at like forming a blueprint, and like, we should work on this map, and like by these strategies. So I was able to form that, and my seniors were like quite impressed, like, that's amazing, we should follow this. But like, we did not qualify for that one. So like, that was kind of heartbreaking. But again, in third year I had another chance. No, this was in fifth semester. So yeah, right, the third year. So with my batchmates from cybersecurity, we participated in Kavach hackathon. So it was good. So like, we cleared the round from college, and we made a website. We solved like a problem statement. I'm not recalling it as of now, but like, hackathon is an experience in itself. You get to learn so much, like, so we were like sitting in the labs, LST S new block labs. They were like, just freshly made and beautiful. Like we sat there, we discussed, we like demonstrated a project to the like faculties. We had their feedback. So like, feedback is very essential. So make sure, like, participate in the hackathon. Like even if you don't win, it's totally fine. Just make something, make anything. It's fine. Take criticism and a lot of feedback, because like, how much can you judge your own project? Like, you have your own limits. You made that by your own hand. So like, you're like, this is fine, this is fine. But have a second opinion, a professional opinion. So you can have that by participating in a hackathon. So I would say, like, that's something very meaningful you can take out of hackathons. So do participate in them.
Thank you, sir, for your experience. Now over
Hmm.
to Ramanch.
Thank you, sir, for the valuable insights shared so far. We will now
Right.
take a moment to address some questions from our live audience. I will be selecting a few from the chat to continue the discussion with our guest authors.
Absolutely.
So, yes, sir. So first question coming up. What's your reviews on Munstack versus Java full stack for placements from college?
Mon full stack and Java. So
Java.
Mon, for those who don't know, Mongo Express, no, MERN, Mongo Express, React and Node. So like, uh, it's basically like, revolving around JavaScript, Node.js, Express.js, and Mongo for database. So and Java full stack is also like, not very far from here. Like, React and Angular are also a part of Java full stack, and the difference is they use like, MVC and I mean Java MVC and like Spring Boot. I'm not very like, friend with the Java full stack, but again, for college projects, like, either is fine, to be honest. But like the big trend is like, the MERN stack. It's the big trend. Again, like, there are multiple frameworks. You must have also heard about Mean Stack, MEAN. So A stands for Angular. There's also Vue, and like so many stacks out there. But like, React is just popular, and React is used by everyone. So just like that. So MERN stack takes some precedence here, because like, you'll always have an opening for a MERN stack, and the front end like stays same for both. Like you will write the code in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, right? So it's not much of a difference. But when you're like writing the back end, maybe like, when you connect to your database and like you use some services. So like in my project in the office right now, so we used MVC like for model view controller. So we used handlers, controllers, and like we wrote mongoose schema. So like it's not very different, to be honest. Just a difference of like language and syntax. But if I had to pick one, like, if you have done Java for your DSA, which I did, so personally I would have preferred like, Spring Boot. But again, like, do what you gotta do. Company gave me the like, one and like JavaScript, so I'm working on that. So again, like, it's not much of a question. Like you can just pursue maybe Spring Boot if you wish.
Sure, sir. So basically, it's the personal choice which one could
Right,
go
right.
with what aligns with its natural skills. Uh,
To be honest, again, I'll keep addressing this question for a little longer. I'm sorry for interruption. So
yes.
again, you are an intern. They expect they expect you would ditch your current stack in a single breath. You won't fight for it. I never fought I'm an Android developer. I use Firebase for database, and I've been using this or that. No, don't rebel against whatever you're given. Work with whatever you're given, and just be good at for placements. You're making a project in suppose in Spring Boot or Mern. Make a good project, and you should be able to defend it. So whichever language you can build a good project and you can justify it and defend it. Every question that's thrown towards you regarding this project, then yeah, pick any stack you're comfortable with.
Sure, sir. Adaptability is one of the major skills which
Exactly.
needs. Next question. Arunima asked, how do you manage between the learning of web dev and DSA? And what is the right time to start learning web dev?
Okay, so ideally, okay, so I'll take an example for here. For suppose you're appearing for JEE examinations. So there's ideally you should make a decision in your ninth class and take coachings from 10th, and by 12th when you complete your coachings from a dummy school, you should appear for board examination, appear for JEE. So this is the ideal method. Start exploring all the subjects, core subjects, operating system, how do they work, and all the basic syntax of some language. You should by first year you should be thorough with syntaxes, conditional statements, and data types, primitive, non-primitive, basic. And by second year you should understand ADA. So there's not exactly exact roadmap you should be following. But again, if you're in second year, I would say dedicate this whole year to your the first semester should be dedicated to your uh, like you know language basics. Again, what I said, conditional statements, and you should be able to write the syntax. You should understand the access modifiers, and what are functions, what are methods, classes. You should understand this. Oops, right? Then the fifth so this was for second third semester, right? And for your fourth semester, I would say you should start solving some basic questions. You should be able to cover your um, linear structures, like suppose arrays and strings. You should queue and stack. You should solve some question okay, how are these working. And when you get into your fifth semester, or you're starting of a third year, you should then start your introduction with the web development or app development, or whichever development stack you're picking. And in the parallelly, you should also be now when you finally get to the fourth year, then you should get in absolute revision and full dedicated DSS problem solving era. So you should get into you should be able to solve lead code questions till medium level, at least I would say. Not at least, you should be able to solve medium questions only. No one would ask you an hard lead code question in an interview. So do that. You should be able to solve the linear, at least the linear, all these arrays and strings questions you should be able to solve. It's a vast vast I would say uh, it's a lot to cover. People generalize this, how much DSA have you done? I have started I've only done strings and arrays, and now I'm moving to linked list, and I'm moving to trees now and all. Don't be like that. You have not finished strings and arrays, because till this day I haven't finished string and arrays. It's a very very vast, just knowing its syntax or how it works isn't sufficient. You should understand the algorithms that come along with it. One of the most difficult algorithms are also implemented in arrays and string. And even when you get to the graph, and uh, you should understand arrays, because you should have now you have to make visited array, and you have to make store the indexing. You should understand how indexing works, sliding windows and all, right? So this all revolves around arrays, right? Sorting data, all the sorting algorithms, this all revolves around arrays and strings. So make sure you should be doing this throughout your journey. And again, to summarize my answer, for your second year, you should focus on your language basics and be able to do all the linear structures. Okay. For your third year, you should be doing your development along with a little advanced topics of the DSA, and you should be able to implement all these oops, whatever you learned in OOPS, suppose making classes and all, and how do they work, how do you inherit it, like inherit data, making objects from these classes and using the methods, access modifiers, complexities, constraints. You should be able to understand this by third year. And your fourth year is like, full dedication to your like, revision of your like web development and of your like DSA. You should be able to like, solve up to medium level questions, and like you should able to optimize it. Like there are more algorithms, because in string matching, like, if you just brute force it, check every string, it's not very efficient, right? So then we put on like other algorithms like KMP and all. So you should be able to like optimize your answers, and like you should be able to like, you should understanding some of like backtracking. You should know this much at least now, how dynamic programming works, how backtracking works. And in backtracking, like, should I be using pruning here? Like you should be able to have an intuition for the questions by the fourth year. That's what I would say. So like, don't get into graph, maybe graph and like very advanced topics like, um, but even basics of graph you can do, like, okay, don't do graph, to be honest. Like, don't, like, I was about to say like you should maybe you should do MST and like, Dishcaster and all, but it's okay. I don't think any company is gonna ask you some very advanced topics. So stick to the basics and your like, linear structures, cover them thoroughly, look at the common algorithms being used, why are they used, which one is more optimized, and is it actually beneficial to write the optimized code or not. So like, you should have an intuition for this.
Thank you, sir, for such a beautiful answer.
Right.
Uh, the next question is, what kind of roles do freshers start from at EPAM? Like the
I'm sorry, I didn't got the question.
okay, sir, it's the current role which you have, and what kind of roles do freshers have at EPAM or similar companies?
Rules for freshers at
No, no, sir, roles. Like
roles. Sorry, I'm
yes,
sorry for misinterpretation. So roles. There are plenty of roles. So like, I am a junior SWE intern, right? Software engineer, and my roommate is an system engineer. So he works with cloud technologies. He's in AWS, and even system engineer has like four stacks. Like you have GCP, you have AWS, you have Azure, and some fourth one I'm not recalling. And you have like, application support, and you have managed services. There's DevOps, and even as an SWE, there are like two. Like you also again, someone asked about this Spring Boot question, right? So uh, JavaScript. JavaScript has two batches, React, and one is Angular. And even for Java, we have Spring Boot. So like, there are multiple roles, like, and your roles as of now, they won't put you on production necessarily, but like, they'll give you maybe some projects to work with and learn. And again, like this summarizes the roles in EPAM. You can have like, all of them are development roles, and but other companies like, you can you must have heard about PwC. So they take advisory roles as well, like, the big firms, the big four, like PwC, KPMG, Deloitte, and EY. So they have advisory roles. They have like, associate developer associates, and like, you'll work under somewhere, you understand someone senior, and like, you work with them, you understand how things work. Good roles regardlessly. And like, other roles for juniors, right? So like, in the big picture, I would say like a developer associate, or pretty much the ones I mentioned,
yes.
if you're opting for an IT company, of course. Non-IT, I'm not really sure.
Thank you, sir, for your insight.
Right.
Now I would love Kushi to carry on the proceedings.
Sure.
So great questions so far. Now let's
Indeed.
switch up things with a quick rapid fire round. Here we'll ask you some questions and which
Sure.
you have to give answer rapidly.
Okay.
So question first is, which tech trend you are obsessed with right now?
Learning from Rainrot on Instagram, like, AWS Peter and all. So they are playing Minecraft, and like they are discussing in these cartoon character voices, and they teach you good stuff. So I'm obsessed with that. I subscribe
Yeah.
to like so many of them.
Hmm. Code at night or code at early morning?
Depends. Like if it's about my personal learning, suppose DSA, daily problems and all, I try to like solve them in the morning, so that I don't have this like, baggage on my head across the day. I hope I don't break my streak. And if it's something about like, maybe some company leftover from my projects or something, some backlogs that I would code at night.
One app you cannot live without.
I cannot live without ChatGPT.
Most favorite hangout spot on campus.
Ellen City Pharmacy top floor, near that, like we can see all these plants and all the view. It's very
Uh,
calm and it's peaceful there. So I would say that.
Best advice you received from a professor or mentor.
Hmm. So much advice, but I would say Bhavna ma'am once told me to pick a stack. I was very ambiguous. I was in cybersecurity, then maybe I should do some AIML, maybe this or that. So she was kind of maybe you should stick to one stack and explore that first. Then maybe you should consider changing or doing more than one stack. It's that.
It's a good advice.
Right.
Favorite way to recharge after a tough day.
Going out for long walks. Hyderabad is beautiful. I walk kilometers exploring Hyderabad and eating. Like this is very specific ice cream franchise here. It's called Penny Candy. So I eat that 25 rupee fruit salad ice cream. It makes my day.
Nice. Your go-to YouTube channel.
For what?
Anything. Go to YouTube channel. Whenever
Okay.
you open YouTube, you are like,
Okay. So I would say I like watching those the screen patti and TVF videos. I hope it's pretty
yeah,
that this
mine
generation is
favorite
also
also.
watching them, right? Yeah, it's that.
So now we are done with our rapid fire round, and we're heading towards our end of the session. Before we
Okay.
close, we'd love to hear one heartfelt advice that you would like to leave for your juniors.
Okay. So first things first, you are doing good. That's the first thing. Don't be overwhelmed. This is very common. This happens a lot. Even I went through it. All these seniors, your peers, and all these um, big bhaiya didis on YouTube, they are kind of putting all this pressure on you. So what I would say is believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Like in this only in this context. So don't pressurize yourself too much. You're doing just fine. Make sure you follow a good routine. Take care of yourself and follow the routine which is your body's designed for. Sleep early at night, wake up early in the morning. Even if you don't have a college, you have a college that day, and also this advice I would like to give to all the I'm not sure if this happens outside Bhopal, but since I was a localite, and manage your time. Your friends should be understanding of the fact when you're working on something, then you're working. There's no disturbance for someone. So when you're all mutually free, then only go out. Don't make such compromises. Don't make compromises with the future. This is critical time. No pressure, but this is critical time. So don't spend it going out and doing hooliganism, drinking and don't do irrational stuff. Make sure you're in your lane and pick good friends, work with them, and if they're not working, try to uh, motivate them, try to get them on the right path. Do, like don't you get on the wrong path. So make sure you're dedicated and always keep your parents in your mind, in your heart, always be grateful to God for whatever they gave you, and be truthful to yourself. That's all I got to say. Be consistent as well.
That is the best advice one could ever get. Moving on, Ramansh will.
So, thank you, sir, for your insightful and valuable guidance. On behalf of the Corporate Club, we sincerely appreciate the time and effort you dedicated to this session. Your thoughts have been truly enriching and have left us with a lot to reflect on. We extend our best wishes to all your future endeavors. A special note of thanks to Dr. Anuj Garg sir and Pushpank sir for organizing such a meaningful and impactful session. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and stay connected. Thank you once again. We look forward to stay in touch with you, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a blast, everyone. Have a good one. खत्म बंद कर दी स्ट्रीम सॉरी